Okay, guys, we are back again for another installment of Supreme Leader Houghton's lessons. Today, we're actually going to tackle three big topics simultaneously, but I do think today's lesson is a critical one, and I also really like the practice that we're going to do today, so I think you guys will enjoy the lesson. Today, we're going to look at capitalism, which is our country's form of economy, sort of. We're also going to talk about taxation, and we're also going to look at something called the American system. So capitalism, taxation, and the American system. Go ahead and add this to your table of contents, page 81, and this is the first lesson of our new unit, Unit 7. So capitalism, taxation, and the American system. Okay, so let's jump right in. Today's mission, like I said, we're going to be doing three things. First, we're going to define free enterprise capitalism. Second, we're going to look at how taxation and the banking system work. And then last but not least, we are going to look at something called the American system. Okay, awesome. So free enterprise capitalism. This is our country's economic system, right? So when people talk about what free enterprise capitalism is, it's our system of economy, right? And so people produce and sell what they want. Businesses try to make money. Prices are set by supply and demand, meaning if something's very popular, companies charge more for it, right? So if something is not so popular, the price drops, right? We see that with technology. New technology like PlayStation 4, high price. PlayStation 3, a lot cheaper because people want it less once the PlayStation 4 is out. Another hallmark of free enterprise capitalism is this idea that like you can own property and use it as you want. And I think here the key word is free, right? The government is leaving you alone. In free enterprise capitalism, people are free. They have a lot of rights. Enterprise deals with business, right? So like you are free to set up your own business. And like capital is the money needed for a business. So like you are free to make a business and make money. This is our system. It's called free enterprise capitalism. You are free to own a business and make money. You are free to own a business and make money. Capitalism, right? And it's sort of what our country is built on, right? Think back to Jamestown 1607. They're coming there for economic reasons. They're looking for gold. They don't find it. They start growing tobacco. They got tobacco farms. They're making money. Tobacco farming was their enterprise. Free comes in. It's the government not forcing you, right? You want to open a business, open that business. The government cannot stop you. And if you want to charge higher prices, lower prices, you're free to do that. You are free to make that paper. Okay, so this is free enterprise capitalism, our country's system of, well, our country's economic system. That sounds a little bit better. Okay, now there are some great benefits to free enterprise capitalism. One of those benefits is like freedom, right? Like you can own your own business. Another benefit here is opportunity, right? Like you have a chance to pursue that happiness and like try to set up a strong business that is successful. This is a benefit of free enterprise capitalism. There is a big drawback. With free enterprise capitalism, there can be a lot of inequality, right? For example, here on the left, we see somebody who's made it. They've got lots of businesses. They're making tons of money. That is like a $500,000 car, and that is at least a $10 million house. It's what Mr. Houghton is working so hard for. Unfortunately, the picture on the right shows us what might happen to like employees in that business or people who cannot get a job. In countries that use free enterprise capitalism, there's often lots of wealth, which is good, but sometimes there's also a lot of poverty, not so good. Now let's go ahead and sort of switch gears. We're going to be talking about taxation. Now, this is a concept we've talked about a lot this year, right? We looked at like the colonies leaving England because taxes are too high. We're in a presidential election, so candidates are often talking about taxes. So like, what are taxes? How do they work? Taxation is money collected by the government to pay for services. So the government builds your roads, you pay for those through your taxes. You pay your taxes, government pays my salary to teach you, right? The government gives you something and like you pay for that. Okay? Here we see our money going to Washington D.C. and Washington D.C. is going to go ahead and provide us with programs. This is taxation. Okay? There are some great examples of taxes here on this slide, right? Like you pay national taxes. Every time Mr. Houghton gets paid, he pays some income tax. There's also trade taxes. We've talked about these. These are known as tariffs, right? So taxes on imported goods. States need money too, right? States handle your education. And states, some states have income tax. Texas doesn't, but many states do. Almost every state does have a sales tax. This is the one that you see most often, right? So like when you go to the store and you buy something, if it costs $1 here in Houston, you don't pay $1. You pay $1.08. That 8 cents is Texas state sales tax, and that goes to Texas. There's also local taxes, right? So this is Harris County, City of Houston, Spring Branch ISD. Your parents own a home or you own a business, you pay a little bit of money to take care of like roads and schools here. Transportation taxes too, right? Like to pay for the metro, you are going to pay for those taxes, okay? I mean, you pay the taxes for those services. The argument is always, of course, like, are taxes too low? Are taxes too high? But like you're going to pay taxes because they pay for the government. We wouldn't have anything by the government if it wasn't for our tax money. Now let's switch gears sort of again and look at the banking system. The banking system we have set up here in our country and in many other countries can be a little bit complicated. I'm going to go ahead and give you like the easy way. The banks use your money to lend to other people, right? So like they take your money and they give that money to other people. When those other people pay it back, the government charges them a little extra. And then the government pays itself with that little extra. And then the government sort of gives you a little bit extra. Okay? And that's how governments make their money. So for example, you put $100 in the bank. The bank takes that $100 and they lend it to me because I want to open up a business. The bank doesn't lend me the money for free. They're giving me $100, but I've got to pay back $110. So the bank has that extra 10. They give you a couple, right? Let's say they give you $5. So you now have $105. And the bank makes its money from that other $5. And that's how banks work. The benefits of this. Banks are generally safe, right? Rather than having $100 under your mattress and you get robbed, you keep your $100 in the bank and you get a little interest on it, right? So after a couple years, your money grows. Banks also help us because you can borrow money for expensive items. Most people can't afford a car or a house or college right away. Because we have so much money in banks, banks can lend them that money. I would also say, like, to start a business, most people who start businesses, they don't have all the cash up front. But because our banking system is so strong, they can borrow that money and start their business, which is awesome for the economy. There are some drawbacks, though. People have got to trust the bank and the government, right? And so, like, if you're afraid the bank's going to run away with your money, you're not going to use the bank. Or if you're afraid the United States is going to fail, then you're going to want to keep cash on you. This is sort of what happened in the Great Depression. There was a stock market crash. People were nervous. Everybody took their money out of the bank. The problem is, your money isn't always in the bank, right? Because the bank lends it out. So if everybody tries to take money out of the bank fails, and it like causes a ripple effect. So banks essentially exist on our own confidence, which is kind of an interesting thing to think about. Our last key point today, we're going to look at something known as the American system. This concept started in the 1820s, right? So we're moving forward in our history class. And essentially what some of our American leaders came up with this idea, and it was like, hey, let's use the money from the new protective tariff, right? So they finally listened to Alexander Hamilton, even though he's been dead for like 15 years. They finally listened to him, added a protective tariff, and they were like, let's use the money from this particular tax and let's help America expand, right? We had gotten all this land from Louisiana to purchase. We'd gotten Florida. Americans are moving west. Well, that land out there, we need roads, we need bridges, we need canals. That costs money. How does the government get its money? From taxes. So let's use the tariffs to build roads and bridges. But like, now take a look at this picture. The reason why this American system made so much sense is, yeah, the government's building roads, but think about it. How does the government build roads? Well, the government hires a company and pays the company to build roads. The company needs employees, doesn't it? So essentially, by paying for roads and bridges, the government is sort of giving people jobs. Well, guess what? When you get a job, you're going to pay taxes. So the government's going to get some of that money back. And also, think about all these guys moving out west to build roads, bridges, and canals. They're going to need stores to buy stuff, aren't they? So not only were their jobs created by this, but like other people will move out west and set up companies just to feed them. Well, when they're working out there, they're going to need families, right? They're going to need schools. And all of a sudden what happens is not only were these guys given jobs to build roads and bridges and canals, but entire new businesses are going to be started to help them, and they're going to essentially start a bunch of new cities to like take care of them. And so this American system, it really helps our country to grow and expand, and it turns out to be a pretty huge success. Okay. Now that we're done taking our notes, and I do sort of apologize, but not really. I know that was a ton of notes for today's lesson, but it was pretty critical. We're actually going to go ahead and spend the rest of our class period and your homework tonight working on this assignment. It's called Create Your Country Part 2. You may talk quietly with the people around you. That's cool, but just make sure you're working. This is a long assignment. And I really want you to add some really cool details to this. I'm probably going to make it a project grade. And yeah, and probably means yes, I will. And so if you're somebody who like you didn't do so well on your last exam, this is a great activity to like sort of boost your grade. But like I expect it to be done to a really high level. So go ahead, knock out your project. You guys have a great rest of the day.